Today I want us to talk about the truth about spiritual attacks. You might be asking yourself, am I okay? Why is it that I'm doing everything the correct way but there's no result? In life, generally, you must be of value there must be value in you for someone or something to attack you. And we all know that thieves do not break into empty houses. They observe the house, they study the house, and they'll even wait until they know there's something worth stealing. And also, remember, the devil does not waste energy where there's no value. He targets purpose, destiny, calling, peace, and future impact. When attacks generally increase, it's a sign that the value has been detected. Even the Bible says that the devil came to steal, destroy, and to kill. Thank God this message has reached you today. I know and I believe it will go a long way in helping you. I want us to discuss several signs that could mean you are under spiritual attack. And we read the Bible and we even pray about them. I know life at times is challenging, but you might not be knowing the battles you are fighting. I remember growing up, our pastors used to tell us that we are not only fighting against the flesh, but against the principalities, the rulers, and the powers of darkness. And we also know that we usually reap what we sow. That you plant a seed and you harvest. But the devil will always want to attack you before you harvest. And you ask yourself, I've been working hard, I've been praying, I seem to be doing everything right, but things never work out. Let us change that. Let us go back to God. And I want to give you signs of spiritual attacks. Once you understand this truth, it changes how you see yourself. You value yourself more. And when you value yourself more, you'll stop seeing yourself as unlucky and you start recognizing yourself as one that has value. Let's discuss the following attacks. And by the end you'll know. As I said, we want to know different truths about attacks. What you should know about spiritual attacks. The first thing you should know is that attacks are generally evidence of value. Again, no thief targets what is empty. And the Bible says in the book of John chapter 10 verse 10 that the thief comes only to steal, kill, and to destroy. So, for a thief to come to steal, and destroy, there must be value to steal and to destroy. The second truth about attacks that you should know, that attacks will increase when you are nearing your breakthrough. But don't worry, because the Bible says in 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 10 that after you've suffered a little while, He will restore you. After the attacks, now when you are nearing your breakthrough, the Lord will restore you. The third truth about attacks is that the enemy always studies your potential, not just the current potential, but even future potential. The enemy will not attack you as a person. The enemy will attack what you are becoming. Not where you are currently, what you are becoming. And let us remember that the Lord knew what we will be and knew us even before we were born. And the Bible says in Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5 that before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. So you should not be afraid. Another truth that you should know is that the enemy will always target purpose and peace. The enemy will steal peace, will weaken focus, and then will delay destiny. But again, you should not worry, because the Bible in 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8 reminds us that be alert. Your adversary or your enemy, the devil, is roaming around. So already you have a warning. You've been alerted that your adversary, the devil, roams around. So be alert. Another attack that I want us to talk about, you'll ask yourself, if the enemy is doing all this, then why is God in our life? I want you to know that God always controls the limits. That is another truth, that God controls these limits of the enemy. The enemy is powerful, yes, but not sovereign. Again, the Bible says in Psalms chapter 55 verse 22 that the Lord will not allow the righteous to be shaken. And remember, the enemy is powerful, but not sovereign. Brethren, another truth that you ought to know about spiritual attacks, that awareness is a form of protection, but ignorance will make you vulnerable. You should always be aware of your environment. You should not be ignorant, because ignorance makes believers vulnerable. It opens the doors. But I know God, but do you pray? How many times do you pray? It's like having a house with no gate. How many times do you protect yourself? So you ought to be aware. But the good thing is that the good book, the Bible, tells us that in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 11, that we are not ignorant of his devices. It means by the virtue that you trust in God, you ought to know that the only way to talk to God is through prayers. That it is through prayers that we actually protect ourselves. So we are not ignorant. The last truth about attacks that I want us to know is that through these attacks, God intends to preserve us. Because God protects what He plans to use. Again, to the Bible, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17, the Bible says that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Meaning God preserves what He intends or plans to use. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Today we've talked about the enemy, attacks, and what you should know about attacks. And I want you to stop interpreting attacks as a proof of failure. You are not a failure. They may be a confirmation of purpose, because an enemy steals something of value. So when you're attacked, there's value there. I want you to guard your peace, protect your calling, stay alert, and anchor in God. Dear brethren, if this message shifted your perspective, tell us in the comment section what you've learned or what you know about spiritual attacks. Until next time, stay strong in faith, and may the Almighty Lord protect you, guard you, and give you abundant health, not only health, but wealth. Have a good day.